Yes, good morning, everyone. Yeah, hi, good morning. So, shall we start the session? In the last class, we have finished with the chapter number 2, that is the SDLC, System Development Life Cycle. Today, I'm going to start with the new chapter, that is chapter number 3. All right. Yeah, hi, Mitty Benjamin. Hello, are you able to hear me? So, shall we start the session? Hello. So, these are the few topics of the chapter number 2, and we have started with the and we have started with the objectives. Now, what are the various objectives? How the project selection will be done initially. That means how we can select the project, that is what is the criteria that is followed for selecting any project, what are the different sources of the project request within and outside the organization. That means within the organization what are the various project requests, and outside the organization what are the various project requests that is handled within organization or outside the organization, and how the user information is gathered, and what are the various strategies to gather the information. That means why there is, first of all, why there is a need for gathering the user information, and what are the various strategies that is followed to gather the information. Next, how to gather the information, or what is the criteria to gather the information, or how the information is gathered from the existing system. Then next is how the project selection and the reviewing will be done by the different committees by different criteria. So that means how we can select the project, how we can review the project that will be done by the different committee, different peoples, and how preliminary investigation and the interview will be conducted. That means how we can conduct the interview and the investigation before the project will be selected. Then how, or what are the various different types of feasibility that will be done. That is a very important, and this is a repeated one. That is, what are the various feasibility studies that is done or that is covered under the project selection. So first one is let's start with the introduction. So first step in the SDLC is the identification of a need. So we can identify the need. What is the need of the people? That is the user's request to change, improve, or enhance an existing system. So this is the user's request to change, improve, and enhance. Means change means modify in the existing system. Improve means we can add on the things. Change means only change, that is swapping from one place to another, and improve means improving the things. For example, we are using the C++, now we are using the .NET, PHP. That is the improvement. Enhance means maintaining the software, or maintaining the hardware, that is enhancing an existing system. And because there is a likely to be a stream of such requests, standard procedures must be established to deal with them. That means there will be a proper procedure, there must be a proper rules regulation that is followed to deal with them, or that is established to make the, or to use the SDL systems. And what is the main objective of the project selection? That is to determine whether the request is valid and feasible before a recommendation is reached to do nothing. That means whether the request that is given are feasible or no before the recommendation is reached to do nothing, improve or modify the existing system, or build a new one. And the user's request form should specify the following. The user's request form that should specify the following. What is the criteria? What is the column that is available in the user's request form? This is the user request form criteria. One is a user, that is the assigned title of the work requested. Then next is nature of the work requested, problem definition, data request, or the date request was submitted. That means on which date it was submitted. That is the date request when it was submitted. Then date job should be completed. Then job objective, that is the purpose of the job requested. Then expected benefits to be derived from the proposed change. The input output description, that is the quantity and the frequency of the input and the output of the proposed change. Then next is requester signature, title, department, etc. These are the few, we can say, the fields that is available in the user request form. One is what is the name of the user, that is the assigned title of the work requested, the nature of the work, problem definition, date request that was submitted, then date job that should be completed, job objective that is the purpose of the job requested, then expected benefits to be derived from the proposed change, input output description that is the quantity and the frequency of the input and the output of the proposed change, then requester signature, title, department, etc. And one of the important point that is left over is signature of the person that approves the request. And the user request identifies a need for the change and authorize the initial investigation. For making the identification of the need, what are the various needs that is used to change and authorize the initial investigation, and it also goes under the modifications before it becomes the final. And the success of a system depends on how accurately a problem is solved. So what is the main criteria, what is the main thing, that is how the definition will be solved, how the problem will be solved. And the user's request must be communicated if the organization's personnel and other resources are to be successfully mobilized to build and maintain a viable information system plan. So what are the various criteria, what are the various users requests that must be communicated to the organization's personnel, organization persons and other resources that is successfully mobilized to build and maintain a viable information solution. So this is the introduction, that is what is the introduction, how we develop or how we can go for a request of the project managers, project requesters or project selection. Now next is what are the sources of the project request, how or from where we gather the project request. So there are 4 primary sources of the project request. One of the main sources are department managers. So there are 4 primary sources of the project request, and the requesters in the organization or requesters inside the organization are the department managers, senior executive and the system analyst. So these are the few requesters that is within the organizations, that is the department managers, senior executives and the system analysts. And in addition, government agencies outside the organization. So one is within the organization, that are the department managers, senior executives and the system analysts. One is outside the organization, that is the government agencies that may request the information system projects, and depending on the reason of the request and the reason for it, requesters may seek or may get either completely new application or change in the existing one. That is the same procedure that we studied in the feasibility study, that is either opting with the new project or either go for the existing system. So let's start, or let's take first one, that is inside the organization, that is the department managers. So frequently persons who deal with day-to-day business activities, whether employees or the managers, are looking for the existing within the department. For example, a business manager in a large medical clinic supervises the preparation of the patient claim form submitted to the insurance company. So this is one of the examples, that the business manager in a large medical clinic, large medical store, that supervises the preparation of the patient claim form submitted to the insurance company, which reimburses the clinic for the medical care. Reimburse means give it the payment for the clinic for the medical care. And even though the managers know that preparing insurance claims is necessary to aid the or to get the patient details, it is very necessary or ensure that the clinic is reimbursed, or she may be dissatisfied with the amount of the time the staff devote to the task, especially when the insurance information is unavailable or it is getting available for the derived task. And pointing out the duplication of the work, the bookkeeper expressed the desire. So that is used for the department manager, that utilizes for the reimbursement, that is pointing out the duplication of work, that is a bookkeeper expressed their desire to be free of the clerical task that is involved in processing the claims. And after discussing the insurance problem with the admin and other clinic also, the business managers asked the clinic management preparing the insurance forms and maintaining the patient records about the insurance payment. That is, what are the various insurance payment that is introduced within the patient record, that introduce the forms and that also maintains the patient record about the insurance payments. And the example is of the class where the managers ask for the system projects and there is an ongoing activity that needs the improvement, either to solve a problem, for example, too many errors, excessive cost, or inconsistent work that is used to improve the efficiency of a job. A department manager requesting a system project may need not consider the interaction between the department, even though the potential for such interaction is high. That means whenever we are talking about the department manager, they are specific to their department. That may be a sales department, that may be a production department, that may be a marketing department. They are specified to, or they are specific to their departments. And if I'm talking about the organization on a wide basis, these may be even more important reasons to consider the project, and the point here is that the request or the project request submitted by the department managers seeking specific operating assistance that may actually have a wider application that can affect other departments also. So if one department affect another department, that also make implications on other departments. That is first one is a marketing or the department managers. Next one is the senior executives. As the presidents, board chairmen, or the vice presidents usually have information about the organization that is not available to the department manager. These are more, we can say, the high priority than the department manager. They have a high authority, they have a high power, they have a high information, large information, huge information about the organization that is not available with the department managers. That information coupled with the broader responsibilities, these executives assumes they manage entire organization rather than the individual department. That means they manage the entire organization, not the individual, because departments individually seek their department. But when we talk about the senior executive, they go for the entire organization rather for the individual departments. That influences the system project request that they make. For example, when we talk about the vice president for manufacturing, who knows that an additional production planning system, one that will enable the management to plan out the manufacturing at both the ends at the same time. And this project spans several departments that includes the manufacturing also, that includes the inventory control and the purchasing at two locations, and also involves many other managers. And the project requests submitted by senior executives are generally broader in scope than those prepared by the department manager. That means report that is submitted by the senior executive. So if there's any report that is submitted by the senior executive that is prepared or that is broadly prepared by the department managers, and consider how many departments in the division of an organization are included within the scope of a system, that also requests to the design and implement a new corporate that is using the budget system or use a financing or financial planning model. Such projects tend to cut across more of the organization than does an inventory control system. And when we talk about the multi-department project that are more likely or difficult, more difficult to manage and the control. Why? Because they are the multi-department projects. That is not specific to one department, but they are specific to multiple departments that are also more difficult to manage and control. However, departmental projects, in contrast, are more likely to be successful, especially if the actual users takes an active role in the project. That means when the users takes an active role in the project, that is very successful and used in the actual users, that makes a or gives a early request, or that makes a or gives a active role early in the project. The next one is next part is the system analyst. So we have done with the department managers, we have done with the senior executives, then we have next part is the system analyst. Sometimes system analysts see areas where projects should be developed and either write a system proposals themselves or encourage a manager to allow the writing of a proposal on their behalf. That means where the project should be developed on either the project managers or either the develop with the system proposal themselves, or encourage the manager to allow the writing of a proposal. So if the manager is going to write a proposal on their behalf, so it's a system analyst that helps a manager to write out the system properties, system configuration, that is what is the system, how it works, what are the various phases that is required for the system development, and what are the various key areas by which we are writing the or by which we are getting the system in a perfect manner. That means the user's requirements are met. And the request prescribes the development of a system that takes advantage of new easy to use data entry terminal to speed the registration. That means to speed the registration to gain out the equal opportunity right that will make the terminal to get the registrations. And normally the department managers prepare the proposals for operating system that such as, for example, for the course registration. However, in this case, the analysts have information about the new equipment and the technology that makes a more efficient registration system possible. That means it's the responsibility of the department managers to prepare a proposal for the operating system And the system analyst role is to provide the information, that is what are the various equipment and the technology that makes the organization that is required or that is required by the organization for maintaining the system. And the project manager, who is not responsible for researching computer technology, they are not take the initiative for developing a system proposal to facilitate the registration procedure. That means, and do not forget that the system analyst and developers can also be the users themselves. That means whenever we are using the system analyst and the developers, they are the users also. And the project management systems, file monitoring, packaging, or the programming library projects are the one of the typical examples of the application project that the system personnel might request. Next one is the outside group, that is beyond the organization, outside the organization. That group is known as the outside group. So developments outside the organizations also leads to the project request. For example, when we talk about the government contractors that are requested to use special cost accounting system with the government stipulated features. So that government contractors are requested to use a special cost accounting system that is also known as cost benefit analysis, that is also used with the government, that is a stipulated features. And the internal revenue service requires organization to keep careful payroll records and to account for the employee income tax withheld. So whenever we are talking about the withheld of the for the employee income tax record, that is also used for the payroll records and account for the employee information. And the Internal Revenue Service also specifies a format for many of the tax department that must be prepared in advance for the revenue generation. And the employer has no choice in this matter. There is no choice about the employer. They have to use that tax document. They have to use that report that is prepared by the department managers. And quite often, new demands from the external group brings about this project request either for a new system or change in the current one. In such cases, when there are strict deadlines imposed by the outside agency, these projects takes on higher priority from the ones, say, department manager. That means it depends on the department manager to give the more priority, because the deadline is very near and there is a high deadline or there is a strict deadline that is imposed by the outside department, that is you have to complete this by latest by the tomorrow. So the department managers pull out their socks and they are going to use the devote the more time to this project than the other projects. So we have done with the 4 parts of the internal as well as external. So first part is the department managers, then senior executives, then there is the system analyst and outside groups. So any doubts, Mate Benjamin, in these 4 points? Any doubts? So please ask the doubts. Okay. And the next part, so the next topic is determining the users information requirement. That means how to determine the users information requirements. That means how we gather the information from the users. So shared, complete and accurate information requirements are essential in building computer-based information. So whenever I want to make any system that is a computer-based information system, that must be shared, complete and accurate. And unfortunately, determining the information each user needs is particularly different task. That means, for example, if there are 4 persons, that is system analyst, one is department manager, so they have a different thinking. So determining the information for each user is totally different for the different tasks. And in fact, it is recognized as one of the most difficult tasks in the system development. That means gathering the requirement is one of the difficult tasks, because each person has a different opportunity, different level of the thinking. And there is a ACM, that is the Association for the Computing Machinery. Curriculum Committee on the Computing Education for the Management is recognized by the 2 distinct job title for the system development. So what are the 2 job titles that is used for the system development? One is the information analyst, then next is a system designer. So there are 2 types of information that is gathered by the job analyst. Hello, hello. Yeah, you want to say something, Mitty Benjamin? Hello. Okay. where we were. Yeah, we're talking about the ACM, that is the Association for the Computing Machinery curriculum, that Committee on the Computing Education for the Management, that is also recognized by two distinct job titles for the system development. One is the information analyst, one is the system designer. Information analyst means who is responsible for gathering the requirement, who is responsible for taking the requirements, and one is a system designer, rather than the general term that is system analyst. So instead of using the so there are two types of system development. One is the information analyst, one is the information analyst, one is the system designer. That is divided into two parts from the system analyst. And the information analyst determine the needs of the user and the information flow that will satisfy these needs. So whatever the needs that is specified by this one, that is satisfied by the requirement of the user, that is specified by the So that is specified by the information flows, and that will satisfy these needs. So that is the information analyst getting the requirements from the users, what are their needs, what are their requirements, and also give the priority to the various departments, the various peoples. And the usual approach is to ask the user what information is currently available and what other information is required. Interaction between the analyst and the user usually leads to agreement what information will be provided by the candidate system. That means when the information analyst gather the requirements, there's the requirement that says what are the various information that is required for the user analyst. And there are various reasons why it is difficult to determine the user's requirement. That is why it is very difficult to gather the requirement from the users. What are the various reasons? First is system development changes and user requirement must be modified. So whenever there is a demand that is changed automatically, system requirement change and the user's requirement must be modified to account for these changes. So whenever there is a requirement for changing in the requirement, so that change must be accommodated by the users. Next one is articulation of the requirements is difficult. Articulation means the change in the moldation of the requirement is very difficult, except for the experienced users. Functions and the processes are not easily described. So it is not easily described the functions, that is articulation of the information is very difficult. And heavy user involvement and motivation are difficult. So whenever we are talking about the heavy user involvement, that is very difficult to gather, and reinforcement for their work is usually not realized until the implementation phase. Until the implementation phase, that is too long to wait, so there is no motivation, that is involvement, that is reinforcement for their work. And last reason why it is very difficult to gather the requirement, the pattern of the interaction between the user and the analyst in designing the information. There are multiple modes by which the system analyst can gather the requirements from the users, but that is that features or that tools, that parts is not very relevant for each and every user, because if the user is illiterate, he or she is not able to write on the questionnaires, he is not able to get the interviews. That is very difficult for the system analyst to gather the requirement from multiple group of the peoples that have a different demographic information, they have a different background, they have a different financial conditions. So it's very difficult for the analyst to gain the information from that or from such users. And the users and the analysts traditionally do not share a common orientation towards the problem definition. For example, in the analyst view, the problem definition must be translated into a system design that is expressed in terms of output, input, process, and the data structure. That means when the user when the analyst gather the requirements, that information must be converted into the outputs, inputs, processes, and the data structures. And flexibility is one of the key consideration in the system analyst form. That is one of the key consideration for gathering the requirement. And system specification must change with their needs as must the system after the implementation. And based on these contrasting views, users who try to define their information requirement with the analyst view must find themselves in their predicament. And according to the Shaler, they defend themselves by producing the strategies that will satisfy the analyst. Now, what are the various strategies that is used for determining the information request or information requirements? So what are the various strategies that is followed for determining the information requirements? Now, there are three key strategies or the general approaches that is used for the information regarding the user's requirement. One is asking, one is getting the information form the existing system uses, and next one is prototyping. So one is asking, simply ask from the end users, go to the one of the departments in the organization, simply ask what their requirement. What is the main difficulty in the existing system? That is asking. Next one is getting the information from the existing information system. That is same that I told you right now, that is going to the organizations and ask from the user what are their challenges in the existing system. Next one is prototyping. That means provide a dummy model to the users. That means now tell me what is the main difficulty in this one? What is the main rule in this one? That means first one is asking, next one is getting information from the existing system, next one is prototyping. Now let's talk one by one. One is asking. That means obtain the information from the users by simply asking about their requirements. This is just simply ask their requirement. What are their requirements, or what are their need that will be assumed for the successful system? It assumes a stable system where users are well informed and can overcome the bias in defining their problems. And there are three areas by asking the method. So there are three methods by which we can use the asking method. So Mitty Benjamin, shall we start again? Okay, so one of the strategies asking, that means the strategy obtains the information from the users by simply asking the questions, asking about their requirements, and it assumes a stable system where users are well informed and overcome the biases in defining their problems. That means there is no biasness in defining their problems. The users are not biased in defining their problem, and there are three key areas or three key asking methods. First question may be open-ended or the closed. Open-ended means that allows a respondent to formulate a response, and it is used when feeling or opinions are important. For example, how do you evaluate the latest addition to your hardware? In contrast, when we are talking about the closed system, that requests one answer from a specific set or response. That means you have to choose the option. For example, how long have you been manager of the computer center? This is one of the closed question. One is open, that is open to each and everyone, that is open, and that is how do you evaluate the latest addition to your hardware. So in simple terms, that is one open-ended is maybe a subjective question that is explained in one or two lines, and closed question are in the one line or the one sentence in one word. The next one is the brainstorming. That is also one of the key technique in the asking. That is a technique for generating the new ideas and obtaining the general information requirement. And this method is approach to brainstorming, ask each participant to define ideal solution that then best select the best feasible one. That means selecting the best feasible one solution from the available solutions, that is a brainstorming, and it works well for the users who have a system knowledge about but have a difficulty in accepting the new idea. That means it is well defined for the users who have a system knowledge but have a difficulty in accepting the new ideas. Next one is group census, that are the participant for their expectations regarding the specific variable. For example, when we talk about the participant fields that are the questionnaires. Next one is the getting the information from the existing information system. That is already information system is available. We have to gather the information, and we can say the system analysts generally or morely or heavily rely on these systems or these information, because these systems are from the existing information systems, and the analyst examines all reports, discussed with the user each piece of information examined, and determined and unfulfilled the information that is required by the interviewing the user. And data analysis method is ideal for making structured decisions, although it requires that the user articulate their information requirement. And the major drawback is the lack of the established tools for obtaining and validating the information that is needed, that is not linked to the information organization objective. Now, last one is a prototype. That means we are defining a dummy model for the users, and give the dummy model to the users at the user's desk and find out the problems in that dummy model. And if that system is suitable, that means there is no loophole, there is no error in that dummy model. So we work on that system so that we can proceed to the next level of the information. Next stage is, that is a prototype. So the reason is that there could be a lack of the existing models, into which the base requirements or a difficulty in visualizing the candidate system. And prototyping is suitable in the environment where it is difficult to formulate a concrete model for defining the information requirements, and where the information needs of the users are evolving, such as in the DSS, that is the decision support system. Now, next one is managing the project review and the selection. How we can manage project review and the selection. This topic I'm going to take in the next class, that is the tomorrow's class. So for today's class, this is very enough because this is a theoretical topic. So any doubts, anyone? Amity Benjamin, any doubts in this? We can proceed with the next topic, that is managing the project